Blessings and welcome. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is your weekly tarot energy forecast for August 7th through August 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, because you know there's 8 days in our weeks here at my channel. So we're going from the 7th through the 14th. That is going to take us through this final eclipse. If you've been watching these tarot videos, if you've been watching my weekly live stream 4D Trinity, you know we've all been going through this on some level. This deep healing, these deep awakenings, these releasing of different levels and layers of self that no longer resonate with the truth of us, with where we are going in our lives, with what the truth of us is revealing to us in our lives about ourselves. I'm so very grateful that you are able to join me here this week. Thank you all of the new subscribers. Recently, I was guided to put a donate link down in the show more box. So very grateful for your support. So thank you with all of my heart. All of my books and my information, my website, all that good stuff down below. All the links are down in the show more box. So please do check it out if you resonate with what I share. And let's take a moment to close our eyes. We'll take a breath in and out, and we'll call into this reading our angels, our higher selves as a collective. And we welcome you. We thank you so much for your guidance and your offerings through this reading. We appreciate all the ways you hold space for us and open the way of love and light for us constantly, that we may come back to truth within ourselves, that we may see truth in our sisters and our brothers and our families and our friends and our communities, and even in the media, that we may see truth, that we may see love. We thank you, our angels, our guides, and all those light beings for holding space that we may do so with grace, with ease. We thank you for all the ways you help serve, and we thank you, our animal totems, our animal spirits, and all those loved ones perhaps that have passed. Okay, we just had a few poppers. We thank you so much for all the ways that you serve us, that you facilitate our well-being, our pathway to truth. This reading is for everyone who is guided, who resonates, who vibrates here to this channel in any way, shape, and form. And for the highest good, I pray I am of service and that the messages are communicated. This one wants to come out with great ease and with flow, and that all of the messages contained herein truly serve the path of spiritual growth and sovereignty of each individual guided to come and be a part of this. I sign myself into the keynote of the collective group, everyone that's guided to watch, whether it's a few minutes or the entire video, and so it is. So we did have a bunch of poppers, so I'm going to pause there. And I do see there's one here there's two here we're going to pull out. Ooh, okay, interesting. So let's have a look. I know we had some on the floor. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and have a look at what we have. These chunk had fallen down: the burden, consciousness, possibilities, past lives, the rebel, yeah baby, and awareness. Ooh, we also have silence. Now, and interesting, these were the two that I was guided to pull out at the very end, and they came together, politics and the lovers. So I feel like that's its own little bubble that we'll get into here as guided. But first I want to take a look at what's going on, because we have some like major players here. On the top row we have the burden, consciousness, and possibilities. And the bottom row are all major arcanas: past lives, awareness, the rebel, with this energy of us coming into our full power and authority as our own inner alchemist and our own divine guide, an angel unto ourselves in a way, and divinely connected with the wisdom of earth, of nature, of cosmos, of galaxy, galactic information is what I'm intending to say. And it's just such an interesting thing, because this week on the 4D Trinity, which I'll put a link here later, I'm not the only one going through it. You're all going through it, or a great majority of us are going through these like incredible incredible shifts and these massive realizations that we have been operating in a very unconscious, wow, my verbiage today is very interesting, unconscious. Is that a Boston accent? We've been operating in a very unconscious level in different ways for each of us. And what's happened is these eclipses have brought to the forefront the truth, the reality of what's going on, of these patterns. And these eclipses, as we spoke about in 4D Trinity this week, are all about interrupting these patterns that we've gotten into, whether they be addictions with food, with sugar, with relationships, with habits, with patterns of all levels. And remember last week's theme, which I'll go ahead and I'll put a link to that as well. Last week's theme on our weekly tarot energy forecast was all about stop saying yes when you mean no. And so many of you reached out to me and were like, woo, hallelujah, girl. That's like the medicine that you needed to hear. And believe me, me too. And how did it go? If you're a regular and you watch these every week, you can comment, but you don't have to. I'm just asking you, how did it go? I know I did really good, but there was one time where I let it slide and I was like, oh, look at that. I mean to say no, but I somehow said yes, and now this thing is happening. And it was just like this very interesting movie in a way that I created and that I got to watch, but with a level of awareness whereby I was like, oh, I did that because I didn't stand firm in my no, or I didn't stand firm in my yes, allowed this trajectory. So how did that go for you in this week? And you know, it's not just for this week. That's a muscle that we get to exercise. Learning to say no thank you is a powerful muscle. And learning how to say yes to those things that we truly want, that we desire, that we know are ours, that are resonant and true to us. Learning to say yes, 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 please, right? And getting over self-doubt, self-fear, lack, all this just lack of self-love and lack of self-appreciation. We're getting over those aspects. These were the burdens. This is a card of the mind. All these diamonds down in the bottom part of these cards reflect a different element or a different aspect. And any card with the gray diamond at the bottom relates to the mind. The burden, as we know, is that part of us. Okay, so what I'm getting is that this has to do with the past. And the past could be yesterday, it could be this morning, it could be this past 5 years. What I'm getting is that the burden fully has to do with all the ways that we have given our power away in the past. Look we've given away our staff of power. We're letting someone else tell us where to go, what to do, how to do it, what to say. We are carrying them. We're saying okay. That card is summing up like the total of all the ways that we have said yes against our higher self. All the ways that we have said yes when we really mean no. All the ways that we've given our power away and we've allowed someone or something else to direct the motion of our life. But what's been happening is we've been waking up, haven't we? We've been connecting the dots of awareness. We've been creating the correct conditions within ourselves so that those DNA within us, those junk DNA, can wake up, right? And that the ones within us that are ready to now go sleepy sleep, those DNAs within us that we no longer need, those connections, those are old. We don't need to run those circuits again. We don't need to run light and life force to keep those old patterns, those old stories, those old addictions, those old ways that you've said yes when you mean no. We don't need to keep that neon sign plugged in. Those DNAs have the opportunity to rest, to release, to die, to be done with forever if you should allow it. And we know this. There's like this part of us that's coming into this that is like, if we've been doing the work, we've been meditating, doing your spiritual stuff, your journaling, your, I don't know, you YouTube and you watch like a million videos and you're just like, you get all your downloads. We know that consciousness individually and collectively is shifting big time. your third eye, squeaky, 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 is opening. And look at this down below, again, that gray diamond. All about the mind. You know, there are practices, and I know I've heard myself say it as well, is that all is mind. Everything in this universe is mind. Whatever you think is right, whatever you think about, you bring about, right? Where you place your mind, where you place your energy, is where you'll find your energy being. And we know this if you follow me, and we talk about the grid. We do our teachings on the grid and the collective consciousness, aka the matrix, and how we're all intricately interconnected through that, and how we interconnect through that, through our thoughts, through our words, through our actions and our deeds, right? We plug into that container that is that divine collective consciousness. And what we're doing is these eclipses, as we're getting like smart, and we're realizing like, oh yeah, I'm no longer gonna be, I ain't gonna play no fool no more, you see. I'm done carrying you and your family and your issues and your this and your that. It's time for me to learn how to really create those healthy boundaries and say no thank you, or I can serve you, I can hear you, I can listen to you, I can talk to you on the phone on Wednesday from 1 to 2, and that's it. You know, it's like where you start to really create those healthy boundaries, or you cut things out completely that no longer serve you. And I know sometimes there's a rush to get rid of friends. It sounds weird, but as you go on this trajectory, you really start to realize like how dissonant and how unresonant some old relationships are, even when you've had these friends for 20, 30, 15, 16, whatever years. As you start breaking out of your shell and you start saying, yeah, no thank you, you start realizing who you are, because the truth of you is always there. And it's all we're doing is removing those things that block the truth. And so as you come into remembering your truth and who you are, you cannot but help but be connected. You create the correct conditions for your higher self to be activated, for your third eye to be plugged in, and to see through all the minutia of the mind bending, twisting, distracting things that would have in the past, whether it was yesterday, last week, past 20 years, past 50 years of your life, that have just been distracting you and taking up energy and taking up time and space in your life. And now it's fine. We can bless these things, because often they're connected again to these old friends, to these family members. There's lessons, there's karmas, there's gifts there, right? And as we learn to master ourselves, master our lives, we recognize that there is always a gift. Even in a shadow teaching, like there is always, always a gift. And ultimately the gift that we're being invited to come back to this week is the gift of coming back to ourselves, is having practiced last week, saying yes when you really mean yes, and saying no thank you when you really mean no thank you. That's that muscle, and we're continuing to exercise that. And as we do, it becomes so much easier to sit and to meditate and to connect galactically, how did we say it earlier? Galactically, cosmically, multidimensionally, right? With these aspects of you, so that you are not so discombobulated. In this picture here, we are all over the place. We are not in our center. We are not in our power. We are not guiding. We are not connected to source. We have totally given up. And it's exhausting. And we don't even know, sometimes we don't even know what to think or how to start to reinitiate or to initiate this new conscious pattern. Yet, like I had a student, and most of my students turn into dear friends. So it's funny sometimes I hear myself saying friend and it's a student, and a student when it's a friend. But I had a beautiful student who I've known for years on Instagram, just like we started messaging out of the blue. And she's like, I'm going through crazy, and I'm like, it's okay, we all are. And she's like, and I just don't know how to get grounded. I just don't know how to start, getting back into my center. And I'm paraphrasing here. And I said, and she's a level 2 Reiki, and she said, and I got my level 2, and I feel like I didn't even initiate it. I didn't even activate it, and now I'm lost, right, is what she's saying. And I responded, said a few things, and I said, and all you have to do is to lay your hands to begin. And she wrote back something, something, something. Like she didn't hear what I said. She said, yeah, but I really need help now, and I'm distracted, and da-da. And I said, yes, and all you need to do is lay your hands to begin. And anyone here who's watching this, who's attuned with Reiki, who practices Reiki, knows, or maybe, or hopefully you will know as I get to the end of this little picture that I'm painting, is that the answers are right here in front of us. We already have the power, the medicine in our hands. We already have the medicine in the cabinet, so to speak. The medicine in the cabinet, the inner eye. There are so many tools and so many potent things that you already have at your disposal, whether it is one breathing technique, whether it is one way that you know that you can meditate for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, but you know you can do it, and you can sit still and you can do that candle meditation, or whatever it is, right? Going into nature, turning off the Wi-Fi and the TV. You know, I've done that for the last week or so. I've explored, and I've gone in and out of trying this, but I felt that I was going through such massive DNA shifts this last week or two especially, and I wanted the space of my home to just be so as pure, energetically and clear as it could be. You know, so besides saging and setting up your crystals and whatever else you might do, and I believe, I resonate with Organite, and we will do a show. We'll do a show on that. But besides that, I just turned the darn Wi-Fi, the whole modem, the whole thing just off. Everything can rest and reset itself. And so that's what I feel what we're coming back to. We're coming back to this resetting and this reconnecting, this reconverging with our higher self, with the third eye. And you see, as these burdens are laid down, as these shadows are laid down, and as we see the bigger picture of what's going on with that friendship you've been in for 30 years and why you're like, OMG, we just do not resonate anymore. But let me be a master here. Or you have a family member that you're dealing with, and like you can't, well, sure, you could move away, you could unadopt them, you could never see them again. I mean, I know people who don't talk to their parents or their family for many, many, many years. Yet if that's not your style, or if you know that's not like what's going down, you know, then you get to be with those relationships, with those family members in those situations, and raise your energy. You get to find a higher vibration, a higher frequency of self. You get to integrate your higher self into the 3D that you exchange with them, into that timeline, so that you can begin to create new timelines from your higher self. And believe me, as you do this, they will be receptive. These people, these places, these friends, these family members, these situations, these occurrences, that whatever it is on fire. You see this red diamond at the bottom, that symbolizes the fire. So this is pure potential to set up a new trajectory in your life. And that's what we're doing this week. So we're setting up new timelines through that practice that we started last week. Stop saying yes when you mean no. Keep going deep into your meditations. Meditate, meditate, meditate. As we know here at this channel, that's what we focus on. We focus on every day meditating. And if you have more modalities and practices you do, that's your life. That's your lifestyle. It's not like, oh, you're so lucky you get to go and do a Reiki session. You're like, hello, I'm reorganizing my DNA here. Okay, this is like, yeah, sure, lucky. No, this is like what I do to supplement being grounded, being whole. You know, and we are shifting. We are shifting timelines. When you go for your acupuncture, when you go for your massage, when you go for, you know, being in nature, it's like, oh, you're so lucky. When you meditate, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, okay, yes, I am. Yes, I am so lucky. Yes, I am so blessed. But really, it's like, these are not things that we're, I mean, yes, they are gifts, and they are blessings, and they are like, ooh, massage, yay. Yet, I know for me over this last month, I've received one Reiki session, two acupuncture sessions, and I had to get a massage because I knew my body, like everything, physically, DNA, energetically, like everything was just whoop, 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 whoop. The Rubik's Cubes was reconfiguring, and on a muscle level, on a DNA, on a cellular, on all these different energetic levels, shit was moving. and it wanted to be moved, to be initiated. So where are we going with this? What I'm saying is that as you lay this burden down, as you meditate and continue integrating these finer frequencies of your higher self, you're going to understand that there are new ways to integrate who you are. I have a very dear student and friend who is going to go visit a family member that they would often have to succumb to this family member's timeline, their schedule, their diet, the way that they do everything. And for their whole life, this person has done everything the way that this parent has wanted them, has wanted to do everything. And that's nice. You know, I know when I go to my grandma's, I'm not picking up her remote control and changing her TV station. I mean, grandma's grandma, right? I mean, she has her way. She's 92, 93 years old. She does what she does. I'm not going to be all like, and I want to do it my way, grandma. I mean, you know, there's a meeting there. So where I'm getting to, though, there are things that we can do that come through grace by us just simply being in alignment and attuned and basically channeling your higher self, where the messages that you will communicate, especially as you stop, like the situation with this girl, with this who's going to reconvene with her family member who she hasn't seen in a long time, and where the family member would always dictate everything that they would do, and she'd just be like, okay, because that's the elder and that's what you do. Yet this person is also saying, like, there's room for me too. There's room for me to say, oh, no, thank you, or can we do it like this, or maybe we can compromise and meet in the middle and, you know, eat at a half vegetarian restaurant instead of just always going for steak, or whatever the situation is. And it's this where we start to find courage this week, where we start to find the ability, and believe me, I totally honor and respect my grandma, but there are times where I'm like, can I do it my way? Do you mind if I try it like this? You know, but I know how to step into that with honor and respect so that it can be a true consideration on her part, and that we can together make a decision. And that's where your new possibilities come in. This is also where our new timelines become woven in thread, because that old timeline, that version of you who used to say yes all the time when you really meant no, that version of you who just went along with whatever everyone else did, or what your friends said, and you just like didn't open your mouth, even though deep inside you were like, I don't feel this doesn't feel right, I'm not into this, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. You know, I'm serious. Like, these kinds of things, like the solutions, what I'm getting is the divine solutions are en route to coming to us, but it takes us continuing to lay the burden down to say no thank you when we really mean it, and to say yes please when we know that is the truth. Keep your practices strong, keep sharpening, keep clearing those burdens, keep clearing those old patterns, those old timelines. And you do that by simply meditating, by simply, you know, when we meditate, all we're doing is we're creating an access point. Well, I mean, we're doing a lot, but ultimately my point here is that we are creating an access point into the now, into your now moment. And your now is where your truth is. Your now is where your full power and potential always, always, always is rooted. And as we do things and allow ourselves to come into attunement, into alignment with our now, we have like instant access to God, you know, to like our higher self, basically, to Holy Spirit, whatever name you give it, to Source, to your Buddha nature. It is like right there. It's always right here. And when we consciously ask and attune and align, it's like, oh, here you go. Here's all the information. Here's all the gifts and the guidance you need. We know, granted, there's sometimes our higher self is like, I have nothing for you, you know, and then that just means that we get to like, okay, there's something here. I just get to be present and just practice being with what is now. Yet, the point that I'm getting to, so that we can finally get onto the second row of cards here, that are all major arcana, is that we are, as we shift, we see ourselves differently. We see things differently. We begin to allow ourselves to even anticipate the wording, the verbiage. So even though this, even this person that I know, who I'm sharing this story, who she's going to be reconnected with, that family member that always, it's nice, and it's not like there's a mean thing going on here, but it's just like the parent that always says, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this at 10, and we're going to do this at 11, and we're going to eat here for lunch, and then we're going to meet here, and we're going to do, you know, and this person is old enough now they're fully an adult where they're going, you know what, absolutely, I love all these ideas, and let's do this as well. Or, and I would love to do that on my own. I think I'm going to take my own little meditation thing, and I'm going to meditate every day between, 9 and 10, so that we can connect then from 10:30 on, where you start to say, yes, great. And where it's a no, oh, no, thank you. Or can we compromise? So these new possibilities, you start to move out of that old timeline where you're just saying yes, and where you're burdened, and where you're just going along with what is being told for you to do. Like, remember the conditioning card that isn't up this week, but we've had it several times. The lion that's, basically grown up as a sheep and thinks that the lion is a sheep until the lion sees its reflection in the lake when it's drinking a little water, and it goes like, wait a minute here. So this is what's happening. And as we come out of those old conditions, those old patterns, those patterns are interrupted, the new level of possibilities, these new timelines begin to happen in your relationships, with your friends, with your family, in your career, in your goals, in your creative life pursuits, in your health, in your body, in your sex, in everything. These new possibilities begin to percolate. So this is very, very, very exciting. The second row is the bomb. So it is interesting too, because before we get to that awareness card, the next one on this second shelf, or the second, I always say shelf, the second row is past lives. Past lives. Major arcana. Awareness. Major arcana. The rebel. Major arcana. Silence. Major arcana. Major arcana because that little, again, the little diamond down on the bottom, when it's purple, all of those cards are major arcana, which mean that they hold the most weight of the reading. That's like the grounding, the most powerful direction, right? The most powerful roots of the reading are in these cards. And so what it's telling me, what I'm getting, is that these lessons specifically where for you, it could be one person, it could be a group, it could be that you are a member of a group and you are having to start to put your foot down or start to use your throat chakra, your mind, and your voice to create new healthy boundaries in alignment with your higher self and your divine wisdom, to create new possibilities, because maybe you do want to stay and you like what the organization is doing, but there's someone running something that you're going like, this is just no. Yet you're guided to stay. And so how do you lay the burden down, stay in touch with your higher self, so that you can co-create through the divinity of the universe new possibilities for the highest good of all? So again, whether that's specifically with a friend, with a family member, with an organization, with you, or all of the above. These people, these places, these organizations specifically, you've known them before. So like my friend going to revisit a family member, maybe consider, if you're watching, I think you do watch every week, and I thank you for your support, that you've known this person, even if it's your father, your mother, your aunt, your grandmother, your uncle, your aunt, you've known this person before. And that as you serve your truth, as you create new timelines and say, can we try it this way instead? Mom, dad, grandma, uncle, auntie, whoever it is, you are not only creating a continual perfect space for your higher self to come through and speak through you and see through you and use your body and use your senses to direct energy in a very conscious way. But what happens is that you start to set up these beautiful set points, these new levels, whereby not only you are behooven, for some reason that word is coming through, where not only you receive the gifts of you allowing yourself more time and space to explore your truth, to meditate, to meet in the middle, to compromise, to create new possibilities with this person, place, thing, situation, right? If you're dealing with people, places, things, situations that you've known from the past, and this time around you are with the higher consciousness, there's a saying that if you hold the higher consciousness, if you're the Reiki master, if you're the Reiki practitioner, if you're the one learning about chakras in your family, if you're the one, the healer, the go-to, the person, if you're the one who meditates, right, then you're the one holding space with the greater consciousness. And there's no right or wrong, good or bad. Yet, if you should choose it to be a conscious responsibility, and you really, with honor and with grace, and again, this word grace is coming through, learn how to speak your truth. And I know it's very hard. For me, I have, there's someone in my life and that knows how to push my buttons and just tick, 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 and they can still get to me. And that's where it's hard for me. It's hard for me to Om Shanti like that. And so there's work there. Yet I know that there have been periods and times, and I'm saying this because for you too, I know it's got to be true, where you have been in the presence of those people that push your buttons or that trigger you or that you haven't been able to say no to. But there have been fleeting moments where you have been able to hold your own space, and it's that thread of awareness where as you come into more power and more ability to be able to do that this week and this month, really, is that it's not only going to serve you in your awareness, obviously, of where you're going, the trajectory, and the present moment of you just enjoying the blessing of your life, it is going to serve the individual that you are having the exchange with, whether it's a friend, a family member, a group, or whatever. You know, the boldness, and I'm saying all this because rebel is right next to awareness, the boldness that it takes for an individual to stand up to the bully, for an individual to stand up to even just a family member. You know, if you've been doing things the same way, people think that that's who you are too, and you're like, no, I've just been doing it this way because this is how you do it, and I honor and I respect you for all these years, but I'm actually getting a little feisty here, and I'm wanting to turn over some tables because I'm grown up now and I'm becoming my own spiritual master. And I realize that, yes, I can meet you in the middle and we can have fun and play and compromise there. Yet, I see things my own way now. I have seen the light. I am becoming a master of my time and space, like so profoundly that it's becoming harder and harder and harder for me not to stay conscious. It's becoming harder for me not to meditate every day. It's becoming harder for me not to love and respect myself. And so, as I am able to stand here with absolute clarity and speak from a gentle, graceful place of my heart to you, my beloved family member, my beloved friend, where maybe things have gone a little weird over the years, or you've just never stood up for yourself. They don't necessarily have to be a bully, but maybe there is some bully energy there. But where you surrender and you're like, okay, higher self. And this is a prayer from A Course in Miracles, where the Course in Miracles asks God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? You know, at times I've worked that prayer in a different way. And so I invite you to, as it resonates with you as well. So with a specific person, place, or thing, as we're talking about this broad view of this reading, is you can ask your higher self, like, what would you have me say to them? How would you have me say it? And when? When's a good time? Because, you know, timing, even though we know on a level time doesn't exist, but here in the 3D, it's all about time. What time and when and where and how and when and remember when and looking to the future when. Yet as you connect with higher self in the now moment, you are able to then channel and transmit and speak things into existence in a way that you had not been able to before. And yes, you will surprise those people around you because they've never heard you speak as your higher self before, or perhaps they haven't been at a certain level where they could even recognize it before too. So there's a divine union, a divine meeting, because they would not be in your presence. I think the point of what my higher self is trying to share through this reading is saying that they would not even be at the point with you, in your presence, with you mastering up, with you being able to connect to your higher self and be like, let me bring some wisdom down to ground into this 3D situation right here. They are doing work on some level as well. They are learning from you as you stand in your full power and authority, and you're burning through the veils of illusion, and you're able to say no thank you and yes thank you, and why don't we try it like this, or can I share something with you, as you speak as your Buddha nature, as your inner master, gracefully and gently, yet at the same time as your inner rebel, because the rebel's not about pleasing anyone. The rebel's not about making people like you. The rebel doesn't care who likes them and who doesn't like them. It doesn't care who's upset and who's not upset. And it's not that it's doing it from a level of being mean, spirited, or violent, or anything in that way. The rebel is just so deeply rooted with God, with Source, with love, with that divine power, that they do not question it. See, and that's the real rebel, where your faith, that muscle has strengthened so deeply that your connect with higher self. 10-4, breaker, this is your higher self breaking through. Okay, we got a situation here. Here's coming up. Here's some divine guidance. Where you trust it so powerfully, and you practice it, that it begins to work for you. And again, these people, places, situations would not be in your presence with you mastering up if they weren't ready to have a slice of that themselves. If they weren't ready to be in the presence of a master as you and learn from you. You are teaching others through your divine presence, through the gifts of you meditating every day, through the gifts of you mastering up and being a rebel, through the gifts of you saying, you know what, can we rethink about this, or let me get back to you about this, or I see how you really want to do that and how that could be a possibility, yet do you think we could put it on the back burner and just see if it happens or not, or maybe there's other things that we can spend time with doing that both of us would really like, that would go on the top of the list, and then we can let that kind of see if that happens later, if there's time. There's a way to gracefully, nicely, where everyone can be seen, everyone can be heard, everyone can get what they need, what they want out of the situation, without anyone having to be like the bully or like the main, the one sucking all the energy out of the thing. And it doesn't always have to be like that. Again, it could just be like your elder, your parent, where you've done things the same way a million times, but you're just like, you know what? I'm ready to change the way this is happening. I'm ready to jump timelines. I'm ready to jump timelines. Now, we've had a handful of different 4D trinities over these several months about timeline shifts, changing timelines, collapsing timelines. I'll make sure that there is a link to 4D Trinity. And you could just search. You could even just in the search bar of the YouTube, just type in timeline or timelines, and I'm sure they'll all come up for you. And where you will be guided, you will be best served if you are guided to just find out some more information about that. So the rebel is what's really peeking through. This rebel nature, and we look at him, breaking chains of limitations, burning, look at that light, and look at the eagle over this rebel's left shoulder. It's the same eagle that is burning through the veils of illusion and being able to see a much broader perspective of possibility for you. And we know that that only comes, though, when we lay the burden down. So the rebel is you, and even though this is all fierce, and he's all punk rock, and he's all like, woo, I'm blazing my light, I'm following my light. I mean, that's what the rebel is. It can be that Christ consciousness of like, sometimes you gotta be the disruptor, where everyone's just like in zombie machine mode, and you're going like, hey, like there's another way to see things over here, and like the Christ energy, where the Christ, there's that story where Christ like turns the tables over and everyone's like, because he's supposed to be this like perfect, peaceful being, but he's like, hey, gotta get your attention here, and sometimes situations can be like that. Yet they don't always have to be like that. Again, this keyword grace wants to keep being threaded into our reading this week. So the rebel is saying to us that we are that we are ready, that we have broken through those chains, that we have released the conditioning, those layers that have just been unconscious patterns. These eclipses have been interrupting these patterns that we've been in. and almost been like a victim of, almost been just like, I can't help it. I just can't, I don't even know why or when or, and this like, okay, all these things are just burning and burning off, especially if we're doing conscious spiritual work with it. Our energy letters, our meditations, our journaling, our writing, our saying our prayers, our writing letters to other people and forgiving them, and whatever, all these things, all this stuff adds up. It accumulates, and it gives you a certain momentum so that you can relax into your inner rebel. And I think that's where we're getting to, is to learn how to be your fierce rebel. And at first, I know when you're first learning to like knock tables over, because you'll shock some people, and some people might get a little upset. You can like maybe piss some people off. But you know what? If you're standing in your full power and authority, and you know that you are one with love, and the words that you speak or the energies that you share, the actions that you are guided to participate in at any given time and space are coming from that place of love. You're not harming yourself, you're not harming another, you are divinely channeling love and light. That is the rebel right there. That is the rebel in the world, and that is you this week. And what happens is, at first, when we break through those chains of limitations, it can be a little clunky. And we knock the tables over, but then we kind of don't know, and then we're like, oh shit, should I pick it up? Should I clean up that glass I just broke on the floor? You're like, whoa, okay, I'm a rebel, whoa, okay, what is this rebel thing all about? You start to learn how to stretch, right? You stretch in your bubble of light. You start to like move those walls of the bubble, stretch them wider and wider. And so again, at first, sometimes coming into your inner power rebel is like, can be a little clunky. Yet, you find that sweet spot in the center where you don't have to be this like pushy, angry rebel who's like pissed at everyone and is a conspiracy theorist. I've been that person. And, the world is out to get us and we're all going to die, and not that kind of rebel, but you might start as that kind of rebel. I was that kind of a rebel. But then what this reading is showing us is that as we continue those practices, self-love, meditate, and we're aware that this is actually happening, is that it's going to help us come into that divine center where your rebel is consistently, constantly with you. And your rebel is that version of you that has laid your burden down, that says, no, thank you, with great ease and with great grace, and that says, yes, please, thank you, with great ease and with great grace. Your inner rebel is that part of you that does not say yes when it knows it feels no. And just by you fully embodying this, like really, this is showing us that this is what's up this week. This is where we're going to really begin to digest and process and come into this blueprint, this new configuration of this inner rebel, so that it can become a part of our day-to-day life. And again, it doesn't mean that we're going around knocking down tables wherever we go and shouting and calling people out and, judging. No. This is this like inner power. It's a faith. It's a faith line. It's when your heart chakra is open and that energy from your heart. Remember last week with that maturity card, your bubble, your astronaut bubble, where the energy from your heart to your throat, to your third eye, your crown, it's all contained. You're grounded. You're rooted through those lower first chakras. Oh yeah, you know how to work with that energy, how to connect with Mother Earth. And now, because your roots are so strong, these energies above, this faith line above, is able to be nourished and watered, and it feels that it has a safe place to awaken and to open. And that's your rebel. That's you being the rebel in the world, and that's what's waiting for you this week. And the card that ends this row of major arcana is silence. So look at the moon. So we know we have this final, or if you don't know, we've had 3 eclipses, or no, I'm sorry, well, depending on when you've seen this, we had an eclipse at the new moon in July, we had an eclipse at the full moon in July. We have a final eclipse August 11th, which is going to take place during this week of this reading. Again, massive things coming into our lives, massive things completing and leaving our lives. The moon at the third eye of this face that we see here, and look at the stillness of the water. Everything is still. So our work here is to practice silence. I'm going to offer you what I'm getting. Remember, we talked a little bit about it this week on the 4D Trinity, where I was talking about when your higher self guides you, when your higher self says, okay, go, do this yoga pose, or sit for 5 minutes in silence, or do it. Do it now. There's something there for you. And even if it's just peace, do it, right? It's worth it. Do it. Practice that spiritual willpower of honoring that divine guidance, because maybe what it's going to gift you with isn't right there and immediate in your hand, yet it is something that it is creating the larger tapestry of your divine energy body, so that through the momentum of your vibration and being that in the world begins to attract back to you that which it is, that which is your truth. And so our ability to be silent, what was I getting to, is that practice being in your meditations in silence. It's just as it's guided for you, right? Because I know so often we have our favorite meditations, or we have our rituals where we do all these little things just to meditate, or just to do that yoga pose. Like we have to have the house clean, or we have to light 5 candles, and we have to call on the Virgin of Guadalupe, and the this, and the da-da-da-da-da-da. And what the silence card is saying, shh, it's saying, shh, just close your eyes. And you could be waiting in line. I mean, you could be waiting in line at the bank. You could be waiting in line at the Social Security office, whatever it is, and your higher self is like, it's going to take a minute. You're going to be in line here for a while. Just close your eyes and meditate. It's that kind of thing where it's just these intermittent periods of silence, intermittent periods of being so still. What I'm getting is stillness as well, that there's this stillness and this silence that is seeking to happen, and that will happen in those moments where you are still and silent. And sometimes it's, if you don't have moments of stillness and silence in your day-to-day, universe, higher self, your energy body will use your sleep to repattern. Because what's happened is we've had all these eclipses opening and closing gateways within us, reactivating DNA, awakening DNAs, sleeping other DNAs. And now these periods of silence, even if it's that 3 minutes at the line at the DMV, or that 30 minute or 3 hour meditation you do at your altar, or at your dojo, or wherever it is that you go with your community, your kula, to do these things, you know what I'm seeing? A cement mixer. It's like this is what's going to help these new timelines create a sense of solidifying in your consciousness, because that's all it is anyways. It's in your consciousness, and your consciousness is in your subconscious, your unconscious, your conscious, your superconscious. There's all these different levels and layers. It's your body, it's your mind, it's your emotions, it's your energies. And there's this weaving, right, that's seeking to take place through you. But that it can only happen when you're when you're silent. I'm also going to offer you to observe silence. Maybe you do 5 minutes a day. Maybe you do 50 minutes. Maybe you try it for a half an hour, or a whole week. But there are Vipassana meditations you can do where you do like a 10-day. But really, this is just like getting in tune with the silence, because you know what? There's a lot of information in the silence. And now, granted, sometimes the silence is just nothing. And that's a whole other download in itself. The nothing, the no thing, it's like, what? There's nothing there. Yeah, totally. But there's so much in the nothing. So there's all sorts of stuff there for us. And depending on, what serves you at any given moment, that silence that you can begin to cultivate and accumulate more and more of is going to give and gift us the correct opportunities, the correct conditions for that higher self, for that divine alignment to really coagulate and to sync everything up. Okay, so now these cards fell out on their own. Politics and the Lovers. So this tells me, I don't know, these cards together are kind of trippy, because politics, so I think we're going to pull another one, and then we're going to end. Politics is the manipulator, is talking about that there's masks, that there's falseness going on. Now, this may not apply to everyone, and if you already got what you needed from the reading, then you might just be like, okay, I don't need this relationship lover stuff. I don't know, but the lovers is always fun, right? Where you're like, well, what is she gonna say? Am I gonna meet someone? Because we don't know, right? Especially if you're single. But this does show that there's some sleight of hand going on Now again, this may not apply to you at all. Yet, I'm getting where there's in an established bond, but also in someone that you might meet this next week. Okay, let's pull another card, because I feel like there's layers to this. There's layers to this, because on one hand, well, let's ask our angels to just a card for clarification, please, with regard to the lovers and politics card that popped out. We would really appreciate some divine clarity and assistance with this. Oh, we had a card fly out. Ripeness. Okay, interesting. So, okay, I get it. So what this speaks to is everything that's been going on here with the rebel and that consciousness, and you saying yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. So stop playing games. There's this, again, only pertains to some of you, but there's some of you that have this amazing opportunity during this eclipse to completely change the trajectory of your life by saying no and by saying yes to the truth in your heart. And it has to do with the relationship, whether it's a lover, someone new you meet, or an established bond. There's something going on where you have not been your true self. You've been wearing a mask. OMG, what just happened? Wow. Look at that. Huh. Okay, so there's been something going on where you have not been your true self. You've not been showing up as the rebel. You've been carrying the burden. And so you haven't been conscious. You haven't seen the divine opportunities and possibilities that the universe wants to bestow to you, because you're not being your true self. You are hiding behind masks. So I think what this is speaking to, what I'm just getting, is that, I've had a handful. I do private readings, so you can email me. My email's down in the show more box if you're interested in receiving a private reading. And there's a handful, there's a grid of people that are going through a situation right now where they're in a bond, and they've been with someone for a long time, yet in their hearts for a long time, out of that long time, their heart has not been in it. They've been over it, or they've been questioning it, like it hasn't been it. Their higher self, there's something is guiding them to look over here, or to be silent, to connect, to create the correct conditions so that the new level of awareness can happen, so that they can be in tune with what the true direction is, so that they can break out of those chains that have been binding them. Yet for some of you, you have decided, nope, you're not going to go there. You're not going to get the acupuncture. You're not going to get the Reiki. You're not going to get the massage, because it's going to disturb this pattern of looking the other way, and it might actually move some energy and make you cry and make you realize how unhappy you are in that situation, or whatever it is. But this is specific to love. So there's change that's ready. You are so ready. Look at the ripeness. Remember we had this a week or two ago where, honey, the fruit has fallen from the tree. Are you going to be that fruit that is trying to hold and stay? Remember we had that's trying to cling and hold on to the tree and to stay there, even though the fruit has already fallen. You've already ripened. Like it's time for change, but there's something that you're not changing, that you're avoiding changing, that you're afraid to change, but that ultimately is for your highest good. And it has to do with a lover, an established bond, someone that you've been with, someone that you're with. And as it speaks to singles, if you're single and independent and just open to flirting or open to bumping into someone cute or whatever, however it might come along, a new potential lover. The flip on this is, what this is saying is, it's like, be as much in tune with your true rebel self, your higher self, as you can this week, as you might bump into someone. If you bump into someone, you're out hiking, you're at the grocery store, the post office, and you strike it up with a conversation, you're like, oh my God, I kind of really like this person, and this is easy, this is really flowing. And if you have taken an oath to go off alcohol for 30 days, but they're really cute and the conversation is amazing and they're like, hey, do you want to go to happy hour later? And you're like, okay. Meanwhile, your higher self is like, you made a vow that you're practicing this new pattern of creating a new relationship with alcohol where you've taken a 30-day oath. Meanwhile, this cute person comes by and all of a sudden you've forgotten about your oath. This is it. Be true to yourself. Don't wear the masks. Be true to yourself. Be the rebel. Be your Buddha nature as you come into contact with these new potentials. And again, just like how earlier in the reading we were saying, when you do that, when you step up, they get to step up and meet you there too. Whether it's family, whether it's friends, but in this case, the potential lover. So just be you. Be the real version of you. If you have that potential, so that any set points that you create that have a possibility of moving forward and having more experiences with this person possibly down the road are rooted in truth, are rooted in you showing up as your true version of yourself and not a version of yourself that's not true to you. Because we all know how that ends. Or maybe we don't, and so we have to just do it over and over again to find out. I'm so very grateful. Thank you all so very much. If you would like a private tarot reading, email me. My information is down in the Show More box. Check out my books, How to Manifest with the Law of Vibration. It's a beautiful, powerful book. And the Reiki Apprentice. I also have a free book called the NOWOSPHERE available on iBooks and at Amazon. It's understanding your spiritual sensitivity is what it's all about. And it's a little mini book. It's beautiful. It has some really good little reviews. And it can really be of service to you. You know, when you do subscribe to my actual website, TuesdayMayThomas.com, the link is below, you receive my monthly love letter. I just sent one out at the end of July. So if you hop on now and you subscribe, I'll make sure you get a copy of that. And it has my blogs and information and little spicy things that you get to see before anyone else does. And you also receive a copy of my mini book, The Higher Self Blueprint of Mastery, which will for sure help you. If you're curious, it will just help to activate the memory and the ability to put together the dots and connect, right, you to understanding what your higher self is and how to be more present with it. And make sure you join us on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for my show, my live stream, 4D Trinity, where we talk about everything metaphysical, multidimensional, healing, higher self, self-mastery. It is so powerful. DNA activation, all of it. We've been just jamming and gathering all of this information together collectively. I bless you. I'm so very grateful for this amazing community. And thank you again, everyone. Thank you so much for your donations, for your support of this channel. I truly am so very grateful. Namaste with so much love.